Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Rotten Tomatoes, and apparently it's rigged. It's coming out.
No. You don't.
The vetted media, the vetted mainstream media is saying that Rotten Tomatoes is rigged, and this is after YouTubers got put on blast during the Captain Marvel debacle and all this other, you know what I'm saying?
Shocker, I tell you. Shocker.
And there are multiple stories about it. The big one, and we're going to talk about this, it came from Matthew Bellany on Puck News, said that Hollywood puts too much stock in it, but apparently for the last couple of years now, media outlets have been questioning the validity of Rotten Tomatoes. Oh my God,
for longer
guys.
than that, YouTubers have been questioning the validity of Rotten Tomatoes. For longer than that, audiences have been questioning the validity of Rotten Tomatoes. You guys are just late to the party.
Yeah, we don't count, guys. We don't count. So let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Check out Geeky's pins on Kickstarter. You got 5 days. Glowing Ghouls Retro Halloween glow-in-the-dark enamel pins. God, that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. There's so many jokes, but I won't make them. Yay, glow-in-the-dark pins!
Glow-in-the-dark pins. We're going to try to flip these as quick as we can.
A cute geeky pin is available.
Got a geeky pin as well. People were asking for that, so we did that.
Yeah, and any of these pins, you can buy them either as a set or you can buy them individually. So if there's just one pin you want, you don't have to buy all of the pins to get the one pin.
No, it's cheaper to buy all of them though.
It is, but you don't have to.
So there's and some people, but they really like the moon. The moon one's been very popular.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, if you like even 2 or 3, you can just buy those 3. You don't have to buy the sets.
So go out to Kickstarter, Glowing Ghouls Retro Halloween Glow in the Dark enamel pins. Thank you very much for the support so far. She's almost at 15,000. She's got 5 days to go. So there we go. So this came from Puck News. This is Matt Bellany, who is kind of the guy who has blown the lid off of, I think he used to work for, I want to say he worked for The Wrap or one of those publications. And he does, deep dives into the underbelly of Hollywood. And he's basically like, Rotten Tomatoes is shit. Imagine that.
I can't wrap my head around it. Like, we've been saying it forever. I mean, the very fact that the guy who was in charge of it used to be like a Disney person, and then they were protecting like Captain Marvel and different things from negative reviews, and everything was review bombing. And the media's been running with it's all review bombing and all this stuff. That should have been your first indication. That's been going on for years.
So this is very interesting because, again, it echoes a lot of things that we have said at this point. He said most savvy moviegoers, that's the key, savvy moviegoers. No, Rotten Tomatoes has been diluted and corrupted to the verge of incoherence. Owned since 2016 by Universal and Warner Brothers, the site and its binary grading system, reviews are categorized as either a tomato or a splatter with no room for nuance, have always infuriated filmmakers and disserved users. Lately, studios have become more aggressive in gaming the scores, both by strategically embargoing reactions and formal reviews and doing their best to empower the writers whose opinions tend to serve their interests. So this is interesting because he's noticing this as well. He says it's always hilarious to see the effusive praise of a mediocre movie from people invited to a splashy premiere, dutifully aggregated by the media, followed the next day by a steaming crap sandwich from actual critics whom the studio doesn't control.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you'll see like early reviews say it's the bestest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever. In lockstep, I'll say the same thing. Like you'll see it on Twitter X or whatever. In lockstep. And then you're like, but I saw that and that's not true. And then the next day, what other reviews are allowed to get through, it makes you wonder what deals they have to make sure people don't see those until a day or two later. You'll start to see people who are like, nope. Or the audiences are like, hell no. And then they try to say, oh, it's because you're a bigot.
Well, yeah. So that was one thing we noticed a couple of years ago is that they started to cast a wider net and they started like deliberately going out and finding smaller reviewers and channels and stuff. Cause I think a lot of them were just happy to be invited. So they were going to play ball, right? They were going to be like, oh, I get free shit. I get invited to premieres. I'm going to say nice things because, oh my God, here I am on the red carpet. I never thought I made it, Mom. You told me YouTube was a waste of time, but I made it.
Here's the joke. True story. We would get invited to these.
Yeah.
We would get invited to the premieres and things like that. We lived on the other side of the country, so it wasn't always easy or feasible for us to get there.
No, I'm not flying to LA to watch your shitty movie.
No,
I'm sorry.
but we were asked to come in, especially when we were on the approved media list for Disney. We were offered Marvel premieres and all kinds of stuff. It's just that the time, the short notice, and the time usually wasn't worth flying clear across the country to go. And the expense. We just didn't do it, but we could have gone.
And people do it though, because here's the thing, like with Disney especially, I don't know how it is now, but when we did the media thing, it was like if you missed one event, they wouldn't invite you to the next event. Yes. So you had to go to the most mundane thing. It was like, okay, like when I was going down to Florida all the time, they're like, okay, we got a new whatever at the water park, a food event or something, so you got to be there. I'm like, why do I got to go for that? That's not like a ride. Nobody's going to give a shit about that.
The cupcake parties. Yeah.
Oh boy, the cupcake parties.
Yeah, it's funny though. Everybody calls it cupcake parties now, but it was you who started that because we actually were the ones that were there at the cupcake.
Yeah, it's so weird. I'm seeing other people that they were never actually on the media list start calling it cupcake parties. Nobody call it.
That's okay. We coined the phrase. Works for me.
Yeah. So here's why I call Disney's media events cupcake parties, because the most ridiculous situation I can remember ever being in at one of these Disney media events was when we all had to line up and take a picture of this cupcake. And that's what we did. We're all in front of, we're actually over in Tomorrowland, and you had a good view of Cinderella Castle, and they had the whole area, roped off, and this is where they had the dessert parties and stuff like that. But the whole area was roped off for this cupcake party, basically. And it was so funny because it was like, you can't have a cupcake stay intact in the Florida heat. So you'd have an influencer, and they had basically had fresh cupcakes. It was kind of like what they do with the costume characters, where after about 10 minutes they have to take them backstage because they're like sweating to death. It was like that with the cupcake, where you get like 2 or 3 influencers would go up, take a picture of the cupcake for the castle, and everybody had to do the same picture, same hashtags, whatever. But the damn cupcake would melt in the heat. So they'd throw that cupcake out, and they'd go get a new cupcake that looked exactly like that one. And as the show would go on, we went through like 5 or 6 cupcakes as they worked. Everybody had to take a turn going up to the cupcake. And I was like, I feel like we're going to an altar to pray to this fucking pink Cinderella cupcake. So I'm like, yeah, the cupcake party. And we didn't even get to eat the damn cupcakes. You know that? They had those cupcakes. Guys
eat the cupcakes, or give you a cupcake so you can review it. But anyway, back to this.
Anyway.
Did LA Times, didn't they get banned from like reviewing early access to a movie or something before because they gave them a bad review, or they said something they didn't like?
Anaheim. It was about the Anaheim thing they questioned.
Yeah, because they covered it. Disney wouldn't like let them have media access to like movies and stuff because they didn't say what they wanted them to say. And they got in trouble for it, so that went away quickly, but they got called out. But this is how it works. Like, I don't think it's been as obvious in recent years, but it was definitely a bought and paid for scenario a lot of times. Yeah.
Now I'm not going to take their whole article because I think this one's paywalled, but they said, the certified fresh rating is generated by a handful of reviews at echo chambers of enthusiasm like Sundance or Venice. And they talked about Smashing Machine, which is The Rock's new movie. And they said it went viral with a debut score of 100% fresh out of Venice. And he had like a 15-minute standing ovation. But it got knocked down to 84 and following, even before most of the mainstream critics had a crack at that strategy non-accent. So what they're doing is they're gaming it to have the bragging rights to say, certified fresh, biggest Marvel thing since the last Marvel thing.
They tried that with Indiana Jones too. Like there's a big standing ovation. It didn't work. And I think people are onto it. But something else, it's interesting with the reviews. You'll see the reviews that go in, and there's like the verified reviewers, like, top reviewers, what they call them, and other reviewers. And it's funny to me because somebody could give it a scathing review, and they're somehow like, it's a 2 out of 5, but it's listed as fresh.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot. And then they also changed it that, well, it's not really changed, but the popcorn meter now is one score and the critical score is another or whatever. And I don't think it's right. I think that there should be two scores given, one for the, I mean, that you see at a glance, or they average the two scores or something, because it's very misleading.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting. This is exactly what we were saying, because we said it was very weird a couple of years ago. They had a push for, under the guise of it being for diversity and inclusion.
Oh, yes.
A push for smaller outlets being included and basically weighed the same as major media outlets. Mm-hmm. And he
talked about that in the video.
We did. The whole Captain Marvel thing and the whole, like, you could tell they were trying to prop up certain kinds of movies by bringing in certain kinds of reviewers because they thought they'd be biased in favor of the movie. But he said, yeah, the most egregious is the site now aggregates actual critics alongside dozens of random awards pundits, fan accounts, and substackers with opaque credentials or agendas, minimizing the influence of career writers who bring experience, transparency, and oversight from editors.
Okay, well, here's the thing, though, about that. I don't think it's right that career writers, in quotes, always get to be the ones that have an opinion. Because I would say, I think it's more likely that a major outlet is getting some kind of kickback or advertising money that would warrant them, looking the other way than like a little tiny blogger.
Yeah, but again, a lot of them, and again, back to the cupcake party, a lot of them would do it for free if they just got invited.
Yeah, it's true, but I'm saying, yes, and I get that, but they're trying to make it out like, the real media is kind of how this being presented. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? We actually have media credential. Like, we worked with an editor for years and other stuff, and we wouldn't be considered the quote unquote real media either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, I kind of see both sides there. But he said some argue it's an overdue democratization of the critical elites who until recently were largely white and male and dismissive of the kind of popcorn fare that average audiences prefer. I get that because, again, he's not saying it, but there was a push a couple of years ago for more diverse critics.
There was. And we did a video.
But yeah, I mean, and that's what I think they were trying to stack the deck. He said, I do get that. He said, the reality is that the professional critic is a dying breed, like from the Chicago Tribune or Vanity Fair. Recently, they eliminated their critic positions precisely because opinion has become ubiquitous online. But the result is obvious. Rotten Tomatoes has become a steaming tar pit of random takes, agenda-driven awards punditry, and press junket fluff, largely indistinguishable from the social media morass it purports to float above. Plus, the whole thing is vulnerable to fraud. Studios can complain and get ratings switched if a lukewarm review is deemed inappropriately negative. 2 years ago, New York reported on PR firms that recruited little-known critics, quote unquote, and paid them to write or change reviews that boosted Rotten Tomatoes scores. One film was elevated from rotten 46% to fresh 62% after the manipulation. It's very gross. See also Captain Marvel. So for all this talk, and this is what I really think it's about, this whole thing, because everybody's like, oh, review bombing. No, I think they use Captain Marvel as a reason to clamp down on public dissent because these PR firms wanted to be able to control the narrative. Disney wanted to be able to control the narrative. We have noticed because they're the CEO of Fandango. You talked about that before. He actually used to work for Disney. Rotten Tomatoes guy.
It was been a while since we covered it, but yeah, I was able to find a connection there years ago. Yeah,
and I don't know if it's still the case now because they've been sold. These companies get sold like every other month, but at the time, the boss at Rotten Tomatoes was a former Disney executive. So it stands to reason that Disney, especially if they're paying advertising dollars, could call them up and say, hey fam, don't, you gotta do something about this. They're tanking our movies. I have noticed though that there have been more and more negative Disney movies since the Captain Marvel thing. Like they're just letting it fly now. Yeah, they're just like, yeah, whatever. You ran out of money. We don't give a shit. Snow White sucks. Deal with it.
Well, I think it also comes with their credibility. Like, you can only say stuff's good when it's not so many times, and people aren't going to listen to you anymore.
So here's, pretty much. Here's grade inflation. Again, I don't want to take the whole article. I think it's paywalled, but it said the buy-in has led to pretty remarkable grade inflation that doesn't get talked about enough. After flinching at some of the recent Tomato Meter scores, I asked Puck's researcher Maya Tribbett to aggregate all the studio-wide releases in 2014 and 2024. Not surprisingly, the average Rotten Tomatoes score spiked 13% over that period. Were the movies just better last year than a decade prior? No, they figured out how to game the system.
Yes. I don't understand why the people were so surprised by this. Like, this is what I find funny is that they're just like, we're so shocked. It's like, no one's shocked.
And then Metacritic's mostly flat because Metacritic's a little more fair. So yeah, it's basically Rotten Tomatoes now.
It as easy, basically.
You can't game it as easy. It's pay to play, and somebody's paying. And if they can't, and this is it, the PR firms are probably installing people in under the guise of diversity and inclusion. They're basically puppets that'll give this one a good review, and we'll give you like a free popcorn bucket or something.
Something, yeah.
And some of these people will work for that. I mean, I'm sorry, people will work for cheap or nothing if they think they can claim it as being like bragging, like, oh my gosh, guys, I made it because I got a swag box from whatever. Hell, they send us swag boxes. They don't send us swag boxes like they used to, but
they have. But we still reviewed things fairly.
Yeah, we did. But they'll send swag boxes out and stuff, and that's how they buy these people off. And well, if you want more swag boxes, you're going to say nice things, right? I mean, that's just kind of the understood. The implied contract, I guess, between the person who should just be happy to be there and eat the crumbs of the cupcake, and the corporation making the cupcakes.
Yeah,
you'll never get the whole cupcake though.
So
you just get to take pictures of it.
Long and short of it is, it's all bullshit. Don't believe it.
Yeah, pretty much. But to have them come out and say that. To have Puck News come out and say it, and then Vulture did something like 2 years ago, pretty much the same thing. They said it's all a scam. It's a sham. And YouTubers were saying this years ago. Yeah. And we got demonized for it.
You're just bigots.
You're just bigots because that was probably PR firms. It was probably the PR firms that are making bank, fudging the numbers for the studios. They were probably attacking YouTubers because, damn it, we would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those pesky kids. And so they were going after us pretty hard. But yeah, I 100% believe Captain Marvel was gamed on so many levels.
There was, you had theaters that were sold out and there was like nobody in the seats. They were like busting people in with popcorn and tickets for like $5 or some ridiculously low price. Of course it was gamed. There was no way it wasn't gamed.
Then the sequel drops and it's one of the worst performing Marvel movies ever.
Yeah, now they're saying that they might switch out Carol Danvers for or Captain Marvel. I don't know if they're going to make her another character or a different actress, but they might recast it, is a rumor that's been going around.
Just bring in Rogue, knock her on her ass. Rogue learns to fly, and she gets super strong, and Carol Danvers is in a coma for the rest of the MCU. That's
there
it.
You go.
You could just like CGI Brie Larson in a hospital bed and call it a day. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.